We learned yesterday that the Department of Health and Human Services actually warned the Trump administration about what separating families crossing the border illegally would do to children. Here's what his top HHS official told senators in yesterday's Judiciary Committee hearing.
Who thinks that the family separation policy has been a success? Raise your hand. Did any member of this panel say to anyone, maybe this isn't such a good idea? Commander?
During the deliberative process over the previous year, we raised a number of concerns in the ORR program about any policy which would result in family separation due to concerns we had about the best interest of the child.
So, Mika, you actually had officials in the Trump administration warning the White House about the concerns they had that this would have a detrimental impact on children.
And let's go through the facts. You have the Attorney General announcing the policy. The Attorney General saying this policy will send a message. Don't come to this country. The policy, by the way, really flies in the face of everything that America is based on, which we'll put aside for a second. The president himself owns this policy. It's not a law, it's a policy put out by President Trump. You had the DHS secretary doing a press conference and repeatedly saying that this policy will send a message. This policy will send a message to keep people from coming here. And then you have Ivanka Trump tweeting, "Thank you, President Trump, for revoking the policy." But now you have thousands of children whose lives have been probably permanently marked by this. Think about it. You have a child maybe who's 4 years old, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 16. Imagine your child being removed from you, from your life with that child for a week. How about a month? How about that child living in a facility for 4 months, being asked to clean toilets, being told not to make a lot of noise, not to cry because you won't be touched? How about having that child just taken away from you and that child sitting there for days, weeks, and months, not knowing if and when he or she will ever see their family again? How about what that mother is going through? Physically, actually, sick, not knowing if she'll ever hold her child again. Imagine that happening to you, because that has happened to people coming to this country seeking asylum. That is happening right now. Hundreds of children may never see their families again, and that is this president's policy. This is owned by President Trump. Melania Trump went to the border and asked these empty questions about when and how these families will be put back together, reunified. She said she wanted to know. She doesn't care. She's planning Christmas at the White House. Ivanka Trump thanking her father for revoking the policy while these children's lives hang in the balance. They still wait in these facilities to be reunified. Where are the questions? Where is the message to America that we will try and fix this? Nobody cares in this White House. They want to turn away from it, and they want to pretend it didn't happen. So we ask, where are they? And by the way, why can't we see them? Why can't we know exactly how many there are? Why can't we see their faces? When a child is missing, often you put the face on television so you can try and help identify that child and bring them back to their family. These children are missing. We don't know exactly where they are, who they are, and how they'll be reunified with their families. They are missing. And by definition, ask any doctor, ask any child welfare specialist, ask any psychiatrist, ask yourself, is this abuse? This is abuse. This is abuse being levied by the Trump administration on innocent children. We'll be right back.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.